Hi everyone, welcome back to Casual Watch Review channel. I've got a really interesting interview that I've been looking forward to. I'd like to introduce Peter from Nomadic Watches. Thanks for joining us.
Sam, thanks for having me on the show.
I'm a fan of the Shawn Ryan show, he's ex-Navy SEAL and he was a CIA contractor. And then he had a gentleman called Blake Cook on who was ex-military and then a SWAT officer. When they start the show, they do an EDC. So it's some really cool stuff because they're ex-military. And then one of your watches popped up. That video's got nearly 1.5 million views on it. That must have been quite a cool thing to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that video really took off, and like that was a really cool one as well. Like we didn't set that up or tee that up or anything. Like so Blake is a client of ours. He's been a client of ours for a couple of years now, and he takes our watches and those guys really put them through their paces. They're using them in extreme environments, and Blake in particular, like he doesn't baby the watch, he just treats it like a tool, like it's meant to be. So whenever he sent us that video, he was just, oh, by the way, I've just been on the Shawn Ryan show, and I wasn't really familiar with the podcast, so I hadn't seen it. And yeah, it turns out it's like the second biggest podcast in the world or something like that. It's like, yeah, it was pretty cool to see that, and we actually got tons of that sort of inquiries came through from that as well. So it's not something we maybe publicize too much, but yeah, we do quite a lot of custom pieces now, and we've done a few for different military units and different police organizations, the sports teams and things, football teams and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's become quite a big thing for us now in terms of the customization. And yeah, Blake and his partner as well, we did custom pieces for those guys, and it's something that just makes it a little bit more special. It starts to then really tell a personalized story, not just an off-the-shelf watch to tell the time.
There's something else that I definitely need to ask you about that's been bothering me since I've been watching some other YouTube reviews and now getting one of the watches in hand, but I'll perhaps do that a bit later on. I have to do a shout out for the friend of the channel, Lucy at Watchbox Diaries as well, who did a great review on your dive watch, the Mirai, which is really cool because these are larger watches, obviously can be pulled off by no problem unisex.
So the dive watch is like a 40 mil watch, but because we make it so thin, it's only like 11.5 millimeters thick. So it can work really well as a unisex piece, or, even if you've got a small wrist, it still works quite well because it is so thin. It doesn't feel bulky.
Should we just do a quick intro for anybody that isn't aware of the Nomadic brand? So you're Belfast based, but how did it all come about? How did you get started?
Yeah, so we're based in Belfast. We hand build all of our pieces here, literally next door through that door is our watch assembly facility. So the guys in there are building all the pieces. But really where we got started with a bit of a spark of an idea and a bit of passion. So I was a mechanical engineer, always fascinated with how things work and how things tick, and watches was something I was always interested in. For me, the pieces that were really interesting to me were the pieces that told a story, and I thought that there's nobody was really telling our story from here in Belfast and in Ireland in general. And I wanted to do that. And we started off very small scale, just me and my spare bedroom. And then we've gradually grown the business now over the last 4 years to sort of, like, last year we shipped into about 40 countries across the world. And we're now starting to really make headway with our mission to kind of put Belfast on the map for watchmaking, and it's amazing to see. We've got a little showroom right now, and then we're actually just invested a significant amount in a physical retail store that's going to be on the high street. So I've got the plans of it here beside me. We're working our way through that, so that's going to be opening in the summertime in Belfast city centre.
You've kindly loaned a watch into the channel. How old is this GMT? Is this a new intro to the line?
It's pretty new, yeah. It's our latest release. We launched it October, November last year, so it's pretty new, and it's our first GMT watch to bring to the market. So yeah, for us, it's a piece that's got a lot of meaning, but it's also just been a super useful piece for me. We're talking earlier a little bit about doing quite a lot of traveling now to some of the watch shows, and I'll be in the US 3 or 4 times this year, and then I've just been in Dubai as well, and we've got a lot of traveling, so it's super handy having a GMT watch is something I needed. So we're like, let's make the space.
I always wear a GMT when I'm traveling, either a quartz GMT like this Veya I've got on, or I wear a Bremont a mechanical GMT as well. The Bremont is also a office GMT or caller GMT. This is similar, isn't it, where the GMT hand moves independently?
We always use Solida for our movements. We like to use the Swiss made movement because we give a lifetime guarantee on our pieces. We kind of have to really back them for the long term, and we found those to be the most reliable movements over time, and you're sort of a little bit limited in terms of what's on offer there as a third party purchasing those sort of movements. So yeah, we've went for that collar style, but it works really well.
I've seen a few of these, the SW330s from, this is a movement that Christopher Ward loves, and it still amazes me about how thin you can get the case using that movement. What is it, just under 13 mil?
Yeah, it's like 12.5. Yep. Maybe that's a little bit of my mechanical engineering background coming into play there and utilizing it. But yeah, we don't like the watch. We like the watches to be robust, but I don't like them to be bulky. It's just maybe a personal thing. I like things to be as thin as we can realistically get them, and I think it adds to that aesthetic. Just it adds to the sort of general wearability of it for me. So
I totally agree. I think that because I've been reviewing watches for quite a while now, I've realized quite a while ago that it's not the case size is almost misleading. Within a certain realm, the thinness and the balance is key, how it balances on the wrist, and that's something that I could tell you've clearly spent a lot of time on, making sure the balance is towards the back of the wrist so it's not all over the place.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's like part of the reason why we do have our showrooms and why we are doing a physical retail as well, because you really have to try a piece on before you can fully understand it. You can read all the specs, you can get your sizes, but a 40 mil watch from one brand could be totally different in size in reality on the wrist to a 40 mil from someone else. So
this GMT that we're looking at today, you sent me the Crimson Dawn root beer type color scheme.
It's like a browny, reddy kind of, it's earthy sort of tones, and with like gold accents, it brings, I think, a bit of richness and warmth to the dial, and I really like that piece. It's a beautiful one.
One of the interesting things though about this color scheme that you've done, which I think seeing it in person, you've done a good job of trying to photograph it on the website, but I think it doesn't quite do it justice. But you actually have got the split between the two colours, which is subtle but also well executed, and that's quite hard to do in ceramic, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is. That's something we spent a lot of time on, and anyone who purchased one of these watches at the launch will know that we struggled with actually delivering on them, because we did have delays with the ceramic bezel, because it is a very, very difficult material to work with. So each color essentially has to fire at a different temperature, and in order to cure it correctly, you're supposed to fire one at say 3,000 degrees and the other one at 3,050 or 3,100 or whatever it is, and for us to try and find that sweet spot balance in between two different colors is very, very difficult to achieve. So that's what we spent a lot of time in R&D to actually get that right, and particularly the crimson one, that red color is a difficult material to work with, and we actually have a black and yellow as well, and that was the most challenging one for us to get right, the black and yellow, and we're really pleased with how it's turned out now.
I don't think I've ever heard that actually before, about it being different temperatures based on the color. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's why it's such a challenge to do, because like each color pigment that you'll use for each thing, there'll be a set temperature you're supposed to fire it at in order to get it right, and it's a function of time as well. So it's not just temperature, it's like temperature for how long. So you want to hold it at this temperature for a certain set of time, and you can either fire it slightly lower for longer, or you can start slightly higher for shorter, and that'll impact on the mechanical properties of it as well. And you don't want to over cure it and make it brittle, you don't want to under cure it. So yeah, it's finding that balance.
I knew there was always a problem getting the two colours, and this isn't a Nomadic problem, isn't it? Because you hear the rumour that Rolex has been struggling for a long time with the Pepsi style ceramic bezels.
Yeah, it's not a Nomadic problem, it's a physics problem. So yeah, everyone has the same issues, and everyone has their own unique ways of achieving it, and yeah, we don't obviously give away the secrets away, but yeah, there's knacks to it.
So this GMT that we've got now, you've opted for omnidirectional bezel on it, and that bezel action as well is beautiful on here. Is it ball bearing system or something in here?
Yeah, we use ball bearing system. Yeah, so it just makes it feel really smooth and pleasant to move around, and it's something you can play with. Like I would use it as almost something I sit and fidget with during the day. It is an interesting it's a tool, but yeah, it wants to be nice to use too.
What is there a significance to the prominent 12? And then also, second question is, why did you opt not to go with a third time zone actually printed on the dial?
Yeah, for it's balancing the aesthetics and for us it's keeping our watches. I wanted the collection to feel like it's part of a family and like they belong together. So if you look at our timepieces from our Mirai dive watch into our Turas expedition watch and then the GMT that we launched, if you see them all together, they feel like a collection. They feel like a family. So some of the indices on the Fíor were taken from the Mirai so that they feels like they fit, but the 12 o'clock marker was very much taken from the Tura so that it connects those pieces together. And about sort of balancing that aesthetic on the dial was why there's not an additional 24-hour clock printed on the inside. For us, we wanted to keep that aesthetic quite clean.
You're a member of the British Watch and Clockmakers Alliance, yeah.
We are, yeah.
And I think I don't know if this is a secret between you all, because this bracelet it's so well made, but it also has a very similar aesthetic to the Fíor's bracelet and also Christopher Ward's consort bracelet as well. So I don't know whether this is the secret of the British Clockmakers Association, that you've got this line to these really cool sort of, it's a mixture between a jubilee and a flatter beads of rice. Beautiful the way it articulates, but reminds me a lot of the Christopher Ward's consort.
Okay, no, thank you. Yeah, well, I think for us it's true. We spend quite a lot of time on bracelets as well. I think it's something that can often be overlooked. Particularly amongst micro brands, we focus on the watch, and then the bracelet's almost like an afterthought. But it's for us, it's all part of the experience of wearing the watch. So each thing needs to be as good as the other, or it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. You've got that micro adjust system which works wonderfully, which gives you about an extra link's width of micro adjust, and then of course quick release as well, which is a big plus. And then the back of this one as well, the rotor is quite interesting. Is it a compass?
Yeah, so the whole sort of theme with this watch, so Fíor means true in Irish, and 555 is like a little reference to our coordinates. So here in Belfast, so we're 5 degrees, 5 minutes and 5 seconds west. So that's our part of our coordinates, and we wanted to tie that in. So it's the Fíor 555. And then when you flip it over on the reverse, you've got that little compass. So it's about staying true to home, staying true to your roots, and sort of no matter where you go, whatever home is for you, you can always set your GMT hand back to home time and stay connected.
I like this Crimson Dawn, but the green for me looks really cool. Probably my favorite.
Yeah, that's what I wear. I wear the green. So it's like, I think like you said, we use quite muted colors. It's a really dark green. It nearly looks black a lot of the time in this light, but it's a really beautiful color, especially when the sunlight hits it. The natural light it just really pops, and yeah, I like the green a lot.
Also has quite an impressive lume shot as well. So you've gone straight in with the Super Luminova on there.
Definitely, yeah, Super Luminova, and we went for the X1 grade, so it is super bright, and we've actually lumed the ceramic bezel as well, so it really just sort of brings it to life, and it's a nice material to work with. It just brings the watch a whole other experience in the dark.
I'll get to my question that I wanted to ask you at the start. In the YouTube review community, we have to, if there's a new watch or a watch from a smaller independent brand, I think there's this compulsion to kind of associate the watch with a main brand watch. And I think one of the common things you see about Nomadic is the likening to the Tudor Black Bay 58, I think, or the Tudor line of watches. And I think that is quite, well, first of all, I'll ask you, do you mind that association? Is it nice to be associated with a watch like the Black Bay 58? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think those sort of associations are natural. You're gonna get that. I think with us, we wanted to keep our aesthetics quite traditional, but putting our own twist on it. And I think if you want to make a modern dive watch but keeping it traditional, there's certain sort of lines you need to stick within, and you stray too far outside of those, and it becomes a little bit too wacky. And then but you stay within the lines and you say, oh, it's just the same as everything else. And I think it's a delicate balance, and we like to think that we obviously put our own spin on things a bit, but yeah, there are comparisons, and I think that's like, so is every other dive watch,
I can see why the association is made certainly to feed the YouTube algorithm. But in person, this, because I've owned the Black Bay 58 and I've handled plenty of the heritage pieces, and other than the fact that the indices are around, there isn't visually in hand, I don't think, a lot of other similarities to it, but I can see why the association is made. So this isn't, to me, isn't a homage or anything of a Black Bay 58 when you see it in person. But I can see why people make that association. In terms of how you're currently going to market with these, is the US a big market for you? Whereabouts? Where do you sell these watches?
It's huge, and it's pretty spread out. Like, we would maybe have expected it to be concentrated around certain hubs or cities and things, and it is maybe a little bit, but generally speaking, it's pretty spread out. Like, we sell watches in New York through to Texas and right across to California as well. So we're selling right across the country, and it's not necessarily Boston in particular, sort of Irish American hub as we might have maybe expected. It's not kind of just concentrated around there. It's spread throughout the country, and for us it's around about 22% of our sales is in the US. So obviously the hot topic at the moment is all the trade tariffs, and I think for us it's going to be an interesting one to see how we can navigate that, but we're certainly seeing it as a good opportunity. I think where we are based in Northern Ireland here, it's kind of we're part of the UK, so we're in some of the better tariff positions, but these things are constantly changing almost every day. You're getting, here's the tariffs have moved again and something else is different about it. So we're just trying to navigate that and make sure that we can look after our US clients as best we can, and make sure we're continually supporting them. So we have US service centers, and we have we're going to a lot of the shows this year so we can get face to face with people. So I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think the going to shows is a great idea. I just did the wind up in Dallas, and getting your hands on these watches, I think, is the key for a lot of brands. And I think especially when people, especially when you get your hands on this bezel, I think that's going to be a lot of people are going to be hooked straight away. So this watch coming in at £1,595, so that brings it very much in line with other brands as well, like Christopher Ward is very, very similar in that price category as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we're in that same ballpark.
Obviously, you've had this as a big release, but is there anything that you can tease for the future of Nomadic?
So for us, we've got a couple of big things happening this year. We've touched on briefly that we're opening our new retail store in Belfast. So we're trying to make this like a really immersive experience. So we're not only opening a retail store, but we're actually going to have our whole watchmaking team kind of behind a glass screen. So when you come into the store, you'll actually be able to see the people who are making your watch right in front of you, and it just makes it this whole kind of real immersive experience. And I think it just links in. I think that's, for me, certainly an interesting part of it. I like to see how things are made, and I think a lot of people are interested in that, and we can kind of bring that to people into the high street. It's just something a bit different, and it's people don't want to necessarily come out of the house anymore for just a normal shopping experience. It's got to be something more. So we want to make it a really great experience and connect with people, and it's more of a place to connect rather than a place to flog watches. Essentially, it's about connecting with people, and that's what our brand's really always been about. And then in terms of actual watches and new releases, we're working our way through the kind of core products. I would say, like, as we're very much a startup, and I would say if we were an ice cream shop startup, you'd want to get strawberry, vanilla, chocolate, the core flavors, right? And then you can move on to the more sort of wacky things, and that's what we're still working our way through. So we've built out our dive watch, our GMTs, our sort of 36mm sports watch, the Fíor, and then we've got our kind of expedition watch. The next big thing we're working on is a chronograph, so that's going to be probably coming out in Q4, I would say. So we're working on that.
From a lot of our friends across the industry, the chronograph is the tricky one, isn't it? Because I don't think people realize how complicated a chronograph, mechanical or either quartz or mechanical, but mechanical chronographs in particular are quite tricky.
We've been working on this for about a year already, and we're still not there yet. So it's like the level of complexity jumps up almost exponentially. We've got to do a dive watch was here. The GMT was more complex, and the chronograph's like there's so many. When you start diving into the details, it gets tricky. So yeah, we're taking our time on it, and we're not gonna launch it until it's perfect. But the designs that we have right now are looking pretty incredible. So I'm really excited about this watch.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us. That was fascinating. Really appreciate you joining us on the channel today.
Sam, thanks for having me. It's great to chat to you.
Link to my Nomadic is in the description down below. Hope you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Casual Watch Reviews. Thanks, guys. Bye.